Morning, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time, especially Brian's for joining us. James, I think you've gotten everybody that is currently on the phone or online, but if there will continue to take roll as we move forward. I will, I think Bob sent the agenda yesterday or the day before. My apologies. If it sounds or looks like I'm in a hotel room or sounds like I am distracted, I am in the middle of our Georgia 4-H Congress this week. So excited to have honored 50 new state winners, and they will join about 200 others this evening at our annual banquet. So we'll continue to move forward, but the agenda, are there any additions or changes that need to be made to the agenda?
Laura Lee Howard had emailed one.
Okay, thank you for that reminder, and I think that is in the policy updates. So if
that's already there for policy committee report, my apologies.
Casey, the other thing is that we're going to approve the July or the June board meeting minutes, not the winter board meeting minutes.
Oh, you're right. Thank you so much. So we'll change that to our monthly meeting minutes. Any other corrections? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented with those corrections.
So moved, Alan.
Second, Mike.
All right. Thank you so much, Alan and Mike. All in favor of accepting our agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. All right, wonderful. Well, again, I want to thank everybody, and especially Brian, who joins us as the 1994 Land-Grant University representative to ECOP. As for many of you all, we discussed this at our face-to-face board meeting in May. That we would like to know a little bit more about how our associations can support our 1994 land grant institutions. And I believe Scott shared at that time, as well as Albert shared some updates about the 1994s that NIFA was able to provide. I believe some additional funding to support Brian's role and position in representing the 1994 tribal colleges and universities to ECOP. So Brian, I am going to try and share my screen and share the PowerPoint with everybody. Unless you would like to do that, I'm happy to drive for you.
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so I'll just tell you when I'm ready to jump to the next slide.
Sounds great to me.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you, Casey, and I really appreciate the opportunity for your organization to let me come and talk a little bit about the 94s and the tribal colleges. Actually, I was able to go out to Washington last fall and do a similar presentation to and so that was I was able to let them understand the tribal colleges a little more too. So it's good that we're able to get out and kind of explain who we are and what we're doing. So my name is Brian Kowalkuski. I'm the Dean of Continuing Education at the College of Menominee Nation. As you can see, we're 1994, so we are actually celebrating our 25th anniversary of the 1994 Tribal College land grant status. So that's some pretty exciting stuff. We're actually, I was telling James, we're working on putting a video together through AHEC. AHEC is our national organization, American Indian Higher Education Consortium. And then we also have a group called Falcon, which is the First American Land Grant Consortium. And that's made up of all of the extension folks from the different tribal colleges. I've been at the college for, it'll be 12 years now in November. Prior to that, I was working for the Menominee tribe themselves. I worked there for 10 years, so I've been working here on the reservation for over 20 years. So I've got some experience. If you can move to the next slide. So this is where we're located. We're located in northeast Wisconsin. You can see the little tiny purple county there is Menominee County. So we share the coterminous boundaries with Menominee County. We are heavily forested. The reservation is heavily forested, 235,000 acres. A strong background in sustained yield forestry, well known internationally for their forest practices. And we've, so we've been able to capitalize on that and get and able to make some job opportunities for the community members and that sort of thing within the reservation. We also have a smaller satellite campus in Green Bay. And Green Bay's, I don't know if you can see the Bay of Green Bay. So Green Bay is right on the southern tip of that bay, and that's where the Green Bay Packers are, of course. And so we also have a small campus there, and we serve the Oneida Reservation over there. So move on to the next one. So the College of Menominee Nation, I'll just talk a little bit about us first, was established in 1993. Our founding president was Dr. Verna Fowler. She just retired 2 years ago now. So she started the college in her basement. And from there, she was able to move to a smaller house and then to the high school. And eventually she was able to get a piece of land from the tribe and build the campus as we see it today. So it's been very fast, and the growth has happened very quickly. It's been very exciting for the Menominee people, giving them an opportunity to get that higher education and get that understanding of what higher education is without having to first go off the reservation. We're very unique in that our tribal college was chartered by the Menominee people. Typically, tribal colleges are a tribal program of the tribe itself. By us being chartered by the Menominee people, we have our own board of directors, and they do not answer to the tribal legislature, so a lot of the decisions being made are made by the board. And of course, we're heavily infused with American Indian culture. I think it's one of the main unique things that we provide from a tribal college standpoint is bringing that culture into our classes, whether they're math or science or whatever they may be. We're able to do that, and we have over 20 different tribes that are represented here within our students at the college. We're also, like I said, a land grant institute, 1994. We're committed to research, promoting, perpetuating, and nurturing American Indian culture, and providing outreach workshops and community service. You go back to what the original land grant was set up to do, and it was to serve the community, and I think tribal colleges really serve that purpose to a great extent. Next slide, please. So there are 34 total institutions across the country. You can see them. The majority of them are in the Northwest, Southwest, and Midwest. They're reservation based. Now, it also said there's 38 TCUs, so some of those 34 are broke up into, they actually have satellites, and we serve about 28,000 full or part-time students annually. Grounded in culture and community. Community is very important. Culture is very important. They're, for the most part, all open access. You don't have to apply to get in. You can just you come and you sign up, and you're automatically, we're open enrollment. So we work with a lot of students that may need additional assistance, and we take pride in being able to help them out and move them along in their careers and their educational processes. So next slide. So this is just a little bigger map showing the different different tribes that are included in it. In all of the tribal colleges, you can see some of the newer ones. We had Keweenaw Ojibwa is a new tribal college up in the UP of Michigan. College of Muskogee Nation is relatively new in Oklahoma, and so we have them spread out all over. And our financial pie that we get is every time we add another tribal college, the pieces get a little smaller, but we're okay with that because we're all trying to serve tribal communities and our surrounding rural communities the best we can. Dene College, which is out in, they serve both Arizona and New Mexico. That was the first tribal college, and they've been in existence for quite a few years. And the let's see, the United Tribe Technical College up in North Dakota. They're actually a consortium of a number of different tribes, so they're a group of tribes. So they're a little different in how they get their funding and that sort of thing. But for the most part, we're all pretty much the same. So next slide. Okay, so how are we similar to the 1862s and 1890s? Like I had mentioned earlier, we're founded on those land grant principles of being able to serve the community, understand the community's needs, and being able to bring the education that the community is in need of to provide those services within the community. For the most part, we have business degrees, we have public administration, nursing degrees, technical education degrees, environmental services degrees. So we try to, we look at what the needs of the community are and the surrounding communities, and that's how we're able to serve and be that land grant, school that we're supposed to be based on what a land grant truly is. My department, which is continuing education, I also provide the extension. So what we do is similar to like any other extension program. We work with the community based on what the needs are, and being a small rural reservation, there's a lot of needs, whether it be from the poverty or health issues, youth programming, elders programming. We actually run the gamut. We even do a lot of cultural programming. We do crafting classes and that sort of thing, and try to bring the community together onto the campus so they can see that the campus is a safe place to be, and that they get comfortable and want to provide that to their kids. There was a lot of years where tribal members, because of the boarding schools and how they had been treated, they saw schools in general as not a good place, higher education as not a good place, but we're trying to change that idea that that getting your education is something good for you and for your family. So we take a lot of pride in that with our youth programming. Next slide. So we are quite a bit different than the 62s, 1890s, and 94s. We didn't get the land grant like the 62s and the 1890s did. So we just get, when we were approved, we get a certain amount of funding, and like I said, that funding is then cut up into different slices of the pie based on however many tribal colleges there are. And it's kind of ironic that there was no more land left over once it came time for the tribal colleges to. We're all very small. Our enrollment, we run between 300 and 500 students a semester. Some of the like Dene College, they serve the Navajo, and so their enrollment's higher. But nowhere near the 1862 schools and 1890s are as far as enrollment, and this actually it's good and it's bad. It can be. I mean, there's definitely that connection between the community and the institution, and your instructor, you probably know your the parents of the students because you had them before, so it's gotten to that point, and so that is a good thing. On the flip side, you also it's easy for someone to go to the president in the grocery store and say, hey, I know this is happening at the college, and this isn't right, and so there's definitely a connection with the community. The president, all the staff, faculty are part of the community, and everybody knows everyone, and everybody knows everything about everyone. So that can also cause some problems eventually too. But for the most part, the tribal colleges are seen as a benefit to the community. We have the casino and whatnot, and we have a sawmill with our forest. But I absolutely believe that the greatest thing that's happened for the Menominee has been this tribal college, and the ability for the youth to get a feel for what a higher education is like before they maybe move on to a bigger school or get their degree here. It's important that they understand that there's more to life than what's on the reservation. So we always try to make sure that they get opportunities off the reservation. One of the things that Dr. Fowler, who was our founding president, was real strong about was that she wanted the youth to go off the reservation to get their bachelor's degree. We actually started a bachelor degree program now, but for public administration and business administration and education. But she was a firm believer in that everyone should have to go off the reservation to learn what it is like off the reservation before they come back and serve their community, so they can understand both worlds. Again, we're small. The disparity in funding. We have to apply every 4 years for our funding, and then so that there's just so much allotted to us, and it's not based on head count or anything like that. But that's kind of how we work our USDA dollars. Next slide, please. And like I mentioned, our students, they're very non-traditional, low-income, first-generation students, and being an open enrollment, being college-ready is tough. And when you're low-income and you're more worried about where you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, that sort of thing, school may not be as a priority. So we understand that, and we're able to work with our students and try to make them college ready and provide them services that they may need outside of the education that they're getting. So we take our pride in that. Our motto is walking you every step of the way. So we have a lot of really, really good staff that are dedicated to seeing this happen. So next slide. There we go. All right. So our faculty, we like I said, we're pretty much a teaching institution. Most tribal colleges are. They're whoa. Did we lose you, Casey? So if I remember, and I can pull it up on mine. Okay, there you go. So we're typically, our faculty have 10-month contracts. We have no tenure or anything like that. There are no research appointments, and most of our faculty are master's degrees, have master's degree, but we are working on getting, I think we have maybe 5 or 6 that have their doctorate degree out of the 15 that we have on staff right now. As far as faculty, we try very hard to get native faculty, Menominee faculty, but right now, I think we have I think there's three Menominee faculty. So, the goal is to try to instill that growth so that people keep moving up and get into those positions where we have, Menominee teaching Menominee at the College of Menominee Nation, so that we can work to build that culture into the classroom also. So, next slide. So our programs, like I had mentioned earlier, we look a lot at that land grant background and that status of making it real community oriented. We look at what the needs are in the community. We have a lot of student driven programs. Our curriculum has a lot of relevance to culture and experiential learning. Native youth are considered, and studies have shown that they learn much better with hands-on type of activities. So we try to do as much as we can doing that. And our big areas are like I mentioned earlier, the natural resources, the business, health and wellness, and youth development. All areas that are very much in need in the community, and so we're trying to fill those areas with folks from our college, and so they can have a more successful community in life. So, next slide. So my program, the extension program, we do a lot of youth programs. We actually, in the last few years now, we've done a lot more ag programs. We had a archaeologist on staff here at the college, Dr. David Overstreet, and he's worked with the tribe for a number of years as the tribal archaeologist. He was working with the forestry department, and he was found out that from some of the foresters that they were seeing these ridges out in the woods where they weren't sure what they were. So he went out and looked at them and did some digs in those areas and discovered that the Menominee were actually very much into agriculture and farming and growing their own food. Historically, the history books all say that Menominee were hunters and gatherers, but we were able to find that they actually did a lot of farming and gardening, and they're still very much in place because the 235,000 acres of forest has not been touched by farm fields or anything like that. It's never been cut over. They used sustained yield cuts, so they do select cutting. So they're very, they make sure they're not impacting the resources or the cultural resources. And by doing that, they've been able to sustain these ancient garden beds. And the really cool thing is that it's not just an acre or two of someone's backyard that was being farmed 5,000 years ago. It's acres and acres where it was the whole community farming, and they were growing beans and corn. And we're finding, Dr. Overstreet's been able to find a lot of different phytolith that he's been working with Smithsonian. He sends them in and they age them and finding out that they're well over 5,000 years old. So pretty cool stuff. Actually making agriculture and farming here on the reservation a cool thing, not just milking cows and row crops. So the youth are definitely finding an interest in it, and we've been able to capitalize on that through our extension programming and bringing in the idea of healthy eating and growing your food locally. So that's been exciting. Next slide. The research we have conducted, we get some funding through Tribal College Research Grants. We've not been able to apply for an AFRI grant. For our Tribal College research, we're also required to have a partner as an 1862, 1890 non-land grant, or the McIntyre-Stennis partner, in order to apply for one of our tribal research grants. So that's something that we have to do. A lot of people aren't real excited about having to apply, but that's what the law reads. So, and actually that is Dr. David Overstreet up in the right-hand corner at one of their digs where they had some youth out there, and they were looking at a site that they they had these raised beds and found a lot of different things. We do have a number of other gardening opportunities where we've brought kids in and tried to reenact the traditional gardens. You can see some raised beds there and that sort of thing. And then we also do some natural resource type of things. So, but basically the research we want to do is things that are going to help out the community. And it's always important that the community has some buy-in to the research, and it's indigenous knowledge that complements the Western science. Next slide, please. So our barriers, of course, are funding. We've been pretty stale as far as our funding. In 2018, we did receive an increase. You can see the numbers are pretty small there. It's less than $5 million for the most part, and that's for the entire all 38 tribal colleges. We're so new and young that politically and small politically we're not that well known. We do have AHEC, which is, like I said, the American Indian Higher Education, and they do some lobbying and that sort of thing. But for the most part, we're just kind of off to the side. That can be good, where we do our thing and nobody bothers us. But we also have we need ways to build our capacity too. Then there's the big thing that I like to mention is that we're not all the same. You can definitely see that we are much different than a tribal college out in the Southwest. They have a very strong background in ranching and farming. We are very much different than that here in the Midwest. Even in the Northwest, that's the same. More ranching, fishing, that sort of thing. So tribal colleges are very different, and so are tribes. How culturally, there's different ways to do things. So it's important to understand that not all 1994s are the same. We have no 1994 faculty research appointments right now, and for the most part, all of our research is done by undergrad students. So, next slide. And that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
All right, wonderful, Brian. Thank you so much. One question that I have is, I think you hit one of the barriers that you said that the 1994s are not well understood politically and otherwise. I first off, thank you for joining us to share a little bit more so that we can develop our understanding of the 1994s. My question for you is, how do you see JCEP and our individual associations? How can we better interact with individuals such as yourself or other faculty members that are doing this applied research and other extension work? And how can we support can support you all?
Okay, so for the most part, I think you start by doing this by inviting folks to come and do these sorts of things. I mean, this has been great to be able to do this. From the tribal college standpoint, on the other stand, it's somewhat our fault also, because we have a lot of turnover, within the tribal colleges. I had mentioned that our college was chartered by the Menominee people, and it may not sound like that's that big a deal, but it really is, because we have we're a lot more sustained as far as our staff goes. There can be a lot of changeover if there's a change in the president. Our founding president was here for the first 24 years of the college. It's a struggle. I know John Phillips, Casey. He struggles to find folks that have the knowledge of the 1994s that, I mean, most of when you go to all these, like the Falcon meetings, there's so many new faces. So he struggles to find people that can actually come and do this sort of thing and talk about the 94s and some of the problems and issues that are dealing with. You know, but I think being part of ECOP is big. I think, you know, I'm not a voting member, but I think just being there and being able to have my voice heard, representing the 94s. And I think, you know, from a one-to-one standpoint, I think what you guys need to do is understand that first you just need to build the relationship. You just need to build a relationship. We found that the best way we can partner with anyone is first to get to know someone. And we get a lot of, because a lot of grant applications want a 94 on their application. They'll say, hey, we'd like to partner with you to get, you know, we can get you $10,000 out of this grant, whatnot, and being able to, and then they just, all you have to do is submit a letter, and those partnerships typically don't go well. So I mean, it's what we found is first, before we do any partnering, we build relationships first, and that can take some time, but you know, I mean, if you're truly committed to it, I think you know, build that relationship, understand. So my college is going to be very different than, you know, any of the other colleges in the Southwest or the Northwest or the by Oklahoma or in any of those states there. But and even my college is very different than the other tribal college in Wisconsin here. So, but get to understand the tribal college that you want to work with and the folks you want to work with, and then you know, then you can look at partnering once you have that relationship built.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian. What other questions from the group?